To the earth. God knows what happened to them. Right. If I say Bermuda Triangle to you, what's the first thing that jumps into your head?
Disappearing planes for me.
And what the causes, I mean.
Oh, so I personally think it's to do with magnetism. That's what.
You're always dismissive. You can't go with the fairy tales, can you? You know what I mean? Let's do the fairy tales
Giant
first,
squid.
or the conspiracies first. Right. Obviously, Steven Spielberg thought it was UFOs because in one of his most famous films, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, who returns? Right? You know when they open the ship at the end and everyone's ready to go on board? You got Richard Dreyfuss and all of the other people done up to get on.
Pilots.
The crew of
Is that
Flight
19?
19.
Never
Yes.
clicked on that.
They come down out of the ramp with the aliens, don't they?
I never
But the little
that's who
boy
they
as well
were.
and the other people. Yeah, that's Flight 19. That was Spielberg's little wink to the Bermuda
So would that
Triangle.
mean then that the planes at the beginning of Close Encounters?
The ones that are found in the desert
Yeah.
are Flight 19.
Nice.
Because they get the serial
Genius.
codes, don't they, off the engine blocks.
He's a genius, isn't he?
And anyone who's into it, who read books on the Bermuda Triangle, would have known the serial codes and they would have recognised the officers' names on the uniforms when they came down. Very subtle, but Spielberg gave a little wink there to the Bermuda Triangle.
Genius.
Alright. Obviously, the other big thing that gets spewed out about there is obviously Atlantis. With it being the Atlantic, right? People say that, well, there's either an alien undersea base there or the Atlanteans are there, right? And the connection, like I said earlier, to Atlantis is one of the islands, it's quite central, one of the Bahamian Islands is called Bimini. And it was only in the last decade that they discovered something called the Bimini Road. When they took satellite photographs and stuff of the nice crystal blue waters around the coral and stuff there off the coast of Bimini, they noticed this big black object on the satellite. So the fishermen had already seen these things out there, but they didn't know what it was. So when a boat was sent out with scuba divers on and stuff, they had to look down there. And what's at the bottom of the ocean there is construction. There's
So there is a civilization.
there has been obviously. The water level there, it's not fantastically deep off the coast of Bimini, not like it is off Puerto Rico, like I said, 5 mile deep. So there's they call it a road because it's loads of bricks, ancient bricks that are laid together on the side. Some people dispute and say it's just a breakwater that was used, to stop the thing coming in. So by all accounts it looks like a harbour, but this is this island, Bimini might have been a lot bigger at one time.
I know there's a volcano down there.
Yeah.
Non-existent now, because that program we watched, they drained it, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, Bermuda itself, the island of Bermuda, is the top of a volcano.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you
Is Coral Island in the Bermuda Triangle?
Coral Island.
Yeah. The castle guy, the guy that used magnetism to build.
He's in Florida, so he would have been on that neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Like I said, Cape Canaveral and everything's over there.
I wonder if his island is actually part of the Bermuda
It wasn't an
Triangle.
island. He was on the mainland of Florida.
Was
Yeah. He just called it.
I was listening.
It was just the name Rock Island that he used for it
okay.
and stuff. But he did use coral from that region, so it might have been a magnetised. So good one for plucking that one out there.
Thanks. I'm going to sleep now.
And then we get on to it being an anomaly in time and space itself. We did time travel, didn't we, a few weeks back, and we went through the science of how you achieve time warp or getting through, which would be a flux of electromagnetic things. But to get that, you need a lot of energy. You need to travel at the speed of light, or one of the options there. But if you go back to the story of what was his name, Bruce Gernon, that pilot and stuff, his description of the vortex, and that he travelled 100 miles in 3 minutes, which even Usain Bolt from that region couldn't manage himself. See, I'm getting topical there, getting some Jamaican links in. Right, but the main thing is, like I said, there's 2 fault lines down there, and when you learned about plate tectonics at school, didn't you? That there's like a magma underneath, and the Earth's constantly trying to mount itself, isn't it? We're floating on a sea of magma, aren't we, underneath? And then we've got like a crust on top of that. It's called the mantle. And when these rub, there's all kinds of things that come off it. Obviously you get heat and friction and disruption to the water. You get heat and bubbles from the seismic and the lava thing going on. But you also get electricity. If you rub, when you rub a balloon and you get static off the balloon, can you imagine that a billion-fold because it's the planet rubbing against itself? So you get these static electricity that comes up from the surface. Like I said, it could be in the Sierra Nevadas, up there in the desert, so it could happen on land. As long as America's got about 4 main fault lines through the continent. We've all heard of the San Andreas fault, haven't we? Well, there's another one that runs down there in Arizona. There's even one that runs through New York, a fault line. Sorry to frighten all you people up there. Sorry, Diane, but you stood on top of a fault line up there in New Jersey. I can't remember the name of it. But more scientists aim towards this. For them to achieve all of these anomalies that this guy suggested, like I said, there was a green glow around his aircraft, like a plasma, which was the title of his book, wasn't it? The Fog. That's just electromagnetic discharge that's been like ionized air that's been attracted to his aircraft. Obviously, it's made of metal, and it's very conductive. And all of this electricity that's gathered in the storm clouds around and rising from the sea would just attach itself to his aircraft, and eventually it would dissipate when he got into clearer skies and stuff. But they're saying it would be possible for there to be a surge of energy to allow him to time warp, because like we saw with the Nazi bell and other things, the warping of the actual thing around it, the side effects that came off the Nazi bell, they were looking for propulsion, weren't they? Yeah. But like I said, the ionization of the air around it and the twisting of the electromagnetic things, it bends light, and it bends. And remember when we said we're thinking that time-space is one thing. So if you're messing with the actual space around something, by the space I mean the light and the physical properties of something, that time can also be bent as well. So maybe an accidental or natural wormhole is formed at these places on the planet, because just a bending of the energy. They always use a piece of paper and fold it over to show how you go through a wormhole, don't they? And interdimensional travel and all that. So most conspiracy theorists think that, and they think that UFOs use it to jump in and off the planet. And
they
come
know
from
where
other
these
dimensions.
wormholes are, and
It's the same with ley lines, isn't it? A lot of stuff follows ley lines. Like you mentioned, Edward Leedscam then with his little rock island, he moved that 30 miles up the coast in Florida to be on a ley line. So there's obviously natural energies. The same with the pyramids. They say that I can't remember, it's not hydroplaning, it's called hydro something anyway. But if you look underneath the pyramids, there's like rocks initially, but there's faults in these rocks, there's cracks in these rocks, and then there's water underneath it. And they're saying the energy of the motion of the water underneath these rocks, rising through these rocks that must have some kind of magnetic properties to them different than other rocks in the region, causes some kind of static, and then that rises up to the surface. So by building a pyramid on top of it, you're harnessing this natural energy.
Because there is a lot of people that think the pyramids are actual power stations, with the alignments of the...
It's Orion's belt,
Orion's alignment and all of that, yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of that conspiracy, but I don't know enough about it to...
Well, we're only just starting to understand, or understand again, because people say that we've had ancient technologies in the past, linked to Atlantis and obviously linked to the pyramids and other things like
There's
that.
definitely something in the Orion's bit though. I know that's going off subject. There's definitely something in that, because not only we've got the Egyptians that are lining up pyramids to Orion,
the Mayans as well, the Aztecs, the Sumerians. Every ancient culture
has focused on Orion.
Yeah.
And that's just 3 stars, isn't it? In billions that we can see.
You can date certain things because of the constellations. Like, for example, like you said, the Great Pyramid at Giza. Like you said, there's 3 pyramids there, isn't there? And the smaller of the 3 is slightly offset. And if you look at the constellation of Orion, it's the same in the constellation. To the naked eye, they look pretty much in a straight line, don't they? But the one at the top, the little one, I can't remember, it's not Betelgeuse, but it's one of them, isn't it? Or the Dog Star. It's slightly off-centre, and this is copied in the construction of the pyramids. Plus, the River Nile that runs beside them is, initially when they did the calculations, a guy wrote the Orion mystery, didn't he, a few years ago, some archaeologist. And he said, well, the River Nile is supposed to represent the Milky Way behind the Orion's belt, but it doesn't sink. But then a guy said, yeah, but what did the sky look like 10,000 years ago? So when they did computer calculations and moved the stars around to go back to that, they could actually get a date when they think the pyramids were built. And this is when people used to think the pyramids were only 2,000 years old or something, didn't they? But it's because of this Orion mystery that they're starting to predate them. They're dating them back to 10,000, 15,000 years old now, because the River Nile's moved. The rivers are living things, and Egypt used to be quite green and lush in that area because the Nile was closer that way, but it's moved over the past 10,000 years. It's found a new route, it's dried out at certain points, and it's moved itself a good few miles. So when the guy worked that out in the calculations, eureka, that was the point where he went, oh, it's all aligned up and stuff. But that is another story.
I was going to say, we've gone quite off subject, but that's all right.
We can get back in.